We ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living or get busy dying.
You ain't first, it's last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review Brasserie Collier, Paix Dieu, and Ridley Scott's Napoleon.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Nice. That's not even fake sound, dude. That was the actual cork that you guys just heard. Yeah, bad news actually for our kin out there who are stateside. Pat brought this beer back from France when he was over there. So I guess it's going to be kind of hard for a lot of you to get a taste, but you know what? I bet it's available in some import areas. Go to your big warehouse liquor store and see if you can import it or order it and try a little bit.
Are those Foley bubbles coming through your...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Is that it? Bottle empty?
I think there might be more. I don't know if it'll fit in these glasses. We might have to...
Oh, do some seconds?
Yeah.
It might be awful, too, so...
Looks like there's still some in there. So, yeah, on my trip to France, I was thinking, man, what a great opportunity to bring back a French beer. And so I went to a grocery store and picked one up and wrapped it up in all my clothes and hoped it wouldn't explode. And then and we're serving it kind of the Euro style. It's not cold. I kind of did that intentionally.
Is it? Well, I bet you can't read the bottle anyways, but I wonder if the bottle says to like serve it at room temperature or not.
I don't think it does, but it is. So all that about going to France and getting this bottle of beer and bringing it back. It is, like I said, the Brasserie Collier is the brewery, and the name of it is Paix Dieu. So these are all French words. So I was under the assumption this was a French beer. I didn't read the back, but it is a triple from a Belgian brewery. So still from it's got some French French words and French title, and from a brewery that is also French-ish. French adjacent, but Paix Dieu means peace of God or God's peace, and Brasserie Collier. Brasserie is just a for the French word for brewery, and then Collier is the word for necklace. So that's
so necklace brewery.
Yeah, something like that.
Weird,
but it's funny because like in French it just sounds more elegant, Brasserie Collier.
Did I ever tell you that I got a French pet name for Billie Jean?
No, what's that?
Yeah, her contact in my phone is first name and then her nickname in quotes last name. And it's Mumbo Boutin de Baudet.
What does this mean?
Not for you to know.
Oh, all right.
But anyone who speaks French out there is probably laughing like, oh, that's funny. But it's not a dirty pet name by anything like that. It's just a funny French name. I heard it was like a pet name that French lovers give to each other. I will say first off, like first immediate thing I know is this smells like, maybe just has a strong smell of Coors Banquet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's Coors Banquet smell through and through, dude. Like immediately
the
in my
banana.
nose. I don't even know if it's
Like
like it's not banana. It's just like just malty. I don't, you know what I mean? Not hoppy at all, just malty. But that was like that. If I close my eyes, that's Coors Banquet for sure.
That's funny with the smell. It's true. So it is on the bottle here. We got this exceptional Belgian triple, 10%. Is only brewed during the full moon. It's smooth and full of character, a craft beer in the tradition of Belgian Abbey beers.
Wait, is that English on the back, or did you translate it?
It's got both. It's got it in French and English.
Right, gotcha.
What if I translated it live speed like that? Would you be impressed?
I don't know why, but I thought you already spoke French.
Oh,
It's probably because you look like the stunt double of someone who's acting as the Three Musketeers.
I was going to say, I look like a musketeer right now,
For sure,
which has been enjoyable while I've been reading that book. But we got the French vibes going on. This little French pencil mustache, excuse for a mustache I got going on, the curly locks. But nope, I'm not from France. I'm not French. I've been there once, and this is a beer from there. So let's see what else about this brewery. Let's learn about it. Kind of cool story, I think. 1933.
I'm waiting. But keep going. I'm waiting.
It's like 1933. Charles Collier left his tech job to become
to pursue his passion of being a microbrew.
Yeah, exactly.
He started in his basement.
No, he was in the 30s. He actually, in a small village, he became basically a beer reseller. So he wasn't a brewer, but he was distributor for it and had a company distributing beer. And then he started right after Second World War. He got his first van, started really growing his business with post-war economic boom. They have a panel here about the 1960s, but there's no words, so I don't know what happened in the 60s. But then in the 80s, looked like his children took over the family business, and they kept on growing as a warehouse company. And then it was in 1996, they started brewing their own beer as well. And so they've been a company for a long time, in the beer industry for a long time. As far as brewing goes, started doing that in 1996, and they've just kind of been growing since then. They have basically 3 staple beers, the Bon Secours, the Paix Dieu, and the Stut. And I don't know about the other 2, but yeah, like it said, the Paix Dieu is brewed during only the full moons.
That's kind of cool, though.
Which like is kind of a tradition of how they used to do the Belgian Abbey beers.
Makes you think, though, like, what if they're like werewolves? Like, how do you keep track of the full moon so well?
Exactly.
Like, I only know it's a full moon when I walk outside and I see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For sure. But I think it's time to give it the swish test.
Push it through the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Pat, take your tablespoon amount in your mouth. Let it roll over the back of your tongue, underneath the sides, and then go ahead and switch it side to side. Then stick that tongue against the roof of your mouth and push it through the front of your teeth. Get a nice little foamy suds. Nannery.
Yeah, not a
real nannery.
Not a huge release of flavor. Feels like I'm tasting the same thing.
I mean, definitely tasted way more like banana bread to me doing that than just like normal sips. Also, not a bad. Hear me out. You know, it's certainly no stout ale acridness. But there is an acridness to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like just acidic. I don't know how else to describe it other than acrid. And that's a harsh word, but it's more than acidic.
Yeah, but I think what we have to keep in mind is the that it's a 10%.
Sure, yeah.
Right, for
It's
what
a 10%
for what you're
Tripel.
So for what you're tasting though, because it's advertised as smooth.
It is smooth.
And so it's pretty
very
smooth,
smooth.
But yeah, and so I just found on here. This is at the couple things on the nose. It reveals a delicate, fruity, and spicy aromas. Is what it says.
It does have a little bit of a. I would say the acriness kind of reminds me of spices a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And on the eye, a cloudy Paix Dieu is distinguished by its golden color, and under a creamy, generous, and consistent foam. Which I'm wondering how maybe different it could be from tap or like from, I don't know, not flying in an airplane with it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And what's it got on here? In the mouth, it reveals its character and develops a long and fine bitterness supported by a hint of hops.
That's probably where it gets the acridity taste is a little bit of hops with that bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say fruity. I'm not sure if I taste fruity other than the nanner. But I will say that if someone came up to me, hey man, imagine a Montucky Cold Snack or Coors Banquet, and imagine it at 10%, not 3.5 or 4. I'd say, okay. And then if they gave me this, I'd be like, that tastes exactly what I imagined. You know what I mean? Like it does taste like it tastes like a craft beer. It tastes like Coors' first craft beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like if Coors Light came out or Coors Brewery came out with their first craft beer, I'd be like, well, that tastes like this. You know?
It's like, have you ever seen pictures of dog breeds that are just old looking? I think we even talked about it on the podcast. Like there's certain dogs you can tell are ancient just by the like
you mean the species has been around for a while, or you mean like the dog is just old?
No, not the dog, the species. You're like, that just looks old, like an old thing that's been around for a long time. I feel like that about like when I have different beers around the world. Just feels like there's like it's just like a fount. There's something in this where it's just a beer. It's been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
They haven't messed with it much. And so like when you get newer craft breweries, microbrews, it has all these different flavors and things going on in it. This just feels like they've done it a billion times.
Yeah.
And it's just is what it is.
It's been made for centuries.
Yeah, they're like, this is a beer.
It's made in a building in France that has an address and also a year it was built. Over the front door, and it's like, oh, that was built before America.
Yep, exactly. Just as like, when you go to other places in the world and old beers, I feel like it's just tastes like a beer, because that's like a lot of people say like, what's a Coors taste like? Man, what's Montucky taste like?
Piss water.
Tastes like a beer, you know.
But it's like piss you like to drink.
Yeah.
I don't really know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
That is still how I always explain, what is it? The Mexican beer. Corona.
Oh, Corona.
Yeah, I have this good family friend whose last name is Hernandez. I won't give away his real name because, you know, he's actually a very prominent person and public servant stuff. But he just like, I just remember he let me have a sip of his Corona once, and he was like, yeah, that's pretty much just Mexican piss with lime in it. And I was like, for a long time, I was like, what if he wasn't joking? What if he just gave me a bottle that he pissed in? And then as I, grew up, I was like, oh, that's just always the description that stuck with me. And like, that's how I've always described Corona to someone else, is like, it's like Mexican piss, but just with lime in it. And this is, that's a tangent because this doesn't taste like piss. This tastes really good, but yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it, Pat. I don't know if there's really anything else to say other than that, it's a pleasant surprise, I think, especially when you said how much it what the alcohol content was. I was kind kind of just startled because it doesn't have the sour flavor that I would expect, like some other tripels I've had that are high in, like a higher alcohol content in them.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it doesn't have that nasty hops aftertaste. It has a very balanced, like I said, it's acrid, but it's a good acrid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else before we give it a thummies that you'd like to touch on?
No, yeah, I think that when I was over in France, a lot of the beers I had tasted very similar to this.
Oh, really?
Of this style.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely, I think it's just like you're saying, for how high the alcohol content, it's pretty smooth and just it's an easy drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And
anyone who likes banana beers is going to like this for sure, I think. Like,
oh yeah,
this is a very pleasing gift to someone who enjoys those kind of more Belgian German beers.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. I'm gonna give it a thumb up. This would be a great first Tripel, a great first European beer. You know, if all you've had is like cheap American beer or cheap India or Korean beer, and then you go to Europe, this would be a great first kind of Belgian beer to have, I think. So I like it. I think it's delicious.
Yeah, I'm going one thumb as well.
Right.
It's good beer. I can't remember the price tag on it. Not that I could remember even because
must
of
have
the
not been that
conversion
bad.
rates anyways. Yeah, you know.
You'd remember it if it hurt.
Yeah, but here's the problem though. I was using like euros on like my last day. So it's like the conversion rate's already screwed up and you're like, I just got to spend this stuff. So
yeah,
I don't remember, but
in Iceland, I
think it was pretty reasonable.
In Iceland, I just found out how much Icelandic kroners are to $100.
Mm-hmm.
I just measured everything with that because I was like, I'm just going to try to relax and be chill about this and not like panic over $10.
Mm-hmm.
My math was off though. It was definitely like, there's definitely a couple times where I'm like, oh, that's just 100 pounds. And then I was like, oh no, with tax, that ended up being like $200. Iceland's expensive.
You forgot about the Icelandic taxation.
Was France expensive? Do you remember like stuff being more or less? I've always heard France is like, if you're not getting commercial goods like clothing, apparel, trinkets, if you're getting just like food, beverage, a tour, like I've always heard those things are pretty cheap actually.
Yeah,
like,
I'd say comparatively to like, I'd say in many ways it is like you can compare it to America, meaning like, you know, if you are in, you know, just a normal town, you know, $10-15 for a meal, right? And if you go to Vail, you know, this is going to be 25, right? So like, you know, pretty similar to that. Like, you know, if we were Oceanside eating stuff, it felt pretty similar. And then certain places were cheaper. The things that were cheaper that was kind of cool was like wine was way cheaper. Nice wine was way cheaper. And then also really good baguettes and really good cheese was way cheaper.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That was the cool stuff, like to enjoy that stuff there. And then everything else felt fairly reasonable. I'd say, yeah, it was probably just a little cheaper than America. And also I'm wondering too, what like, it'd be interesting to see how inflation hits where, when, like, were we cheaper 2 years ago on certain, it was pretty close on like, but I felt like it was, there's other places I've traveled, other places I've been to where it's, you get like the go to Mexico and it's like 50-cent beers. It's not that, but it's also not like other places I've been to where it was, you know, you feel like you're bleeding. I feel like if you go on vacation in America, you feel like you're bleeding money way more.
Definitely,
you know?
Depending where.
Right. Yeah. Like, definitely depending where, but then also, especially too, like we were in like big, nice towns too. And like, it didn't feel the same as like if you were in, you know, at a Rockies game and it's like, you know, $15 for a beer or whatever, like that sort of thing. Like it was pretty reasonable. And their McDonald's serves beer.
That's awesome.
You can get a Heineken there. It's pretty fun.
That's great.
It's hilarious.
Well, with that, Pat, how did your recent trip to France kind of set your expectations for Napoleon? You know, we both saw it in the last week ish, and I've never been to France, just been around it. pretty much been to everywhere that has either conquered or freed it, but never been to France itself. But I was just wondering, yeah, like because you went on that trip not too long ago. That was just this summer, right? End of the summer.
Yeah, just this summer, and I think that it didn't change my expectations for the movie too much, in that I was just excited to maybe like see some scenery, maybe places I'd been, or maybe understand a little bit more of historical context what might have been going on. One thing that I did, gain some context for was when we did go out to an island for a day, which would have been very similar to the islands that Napoleon at the middle and end of his life was exiled to.
But you didn't go to like St. Elba.
We didn't go to his island. No, but we went to like very similar, like there's a couple islands off the coast of the south of France where it's just like just far enough where you can't swim to get back. And but and it's they would have outposts out there too as for defense and things. But yeah, it was very it was cool to be on that island that had some prisons and like old ruins and stuff that would have been very similar to the prisons and stuff he would have been in, and what it would have looked like for him looking out the Mediterranean.
Gotcha. Well, let's get into it, man. Napoleon just released in the last month of November, right at the end of it, in time for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving movies usually dropped to try to be hits, but sometimes people roll out their movies they don't think are going to perform very well. And if we look at the critics and user reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, it seems like Napoleon might have been something that it's hard to tell if it was Ridley Scott or producers, but it might have been one of the ones that was rolled out in November because they didn't have a lot of faith it was going to be in theaters for very long. I'll say this, just so people already know. Oppenheimer, this is not. This is not going to be in theaters for... Oppenheimer's still in theaters. And It came out in, June? July?
I gotta go see it.
Yeah, you do. I'm pretty disappointed that you haven't. But anyways, directed by Ridley Scott. The lead is Joaquin Phoenix. Supporting cast is Tahar Rahim, Rupert Everett, Vanessa Kirby, who she plays Josephine Bonaparte. Also, her boobs play a big role. I swear to God, they really wanted her boobs to be like on the cusp of coming out of her shirt for 90% of the movie.
But only one at a time.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things where it was like, why is no one else's boobs about to fall out?
Yeah, but in boob. It was
just like one or the other that was about
weird.
to, yeah.
It was interesting.
And I don't think there's any boobs in the whole movie.
No.
So, note for anyone who's thinking, oh, can I bring my kids to this or something like that? There's no excessive nudity, no orgies.
Yeah, it's it. But there's a couple. I wouldn't want I'd say this: sitting with my brother-in-law next to my dad during the movie, and them having to sit next to each other during some of those sex scenes was pretty hilarious.
I forget. I actually totally forgot there was like the kind of comedic sex scees.
Yeah, and they're funny, but they're not trying to be funny. I think
they are. I think they're trying to make it look like well, yeah, we're getting into it. We're getting into it right now. This movie really...
I'm just saying, maybe don't take your kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't say don't take your kids, but like it wouldn't be the worst first movie they watched with a sex scene in it. That's for sure. Like this one could be just hilarious conversation afterwards where your child's like, Dad, was that sex? And you could be like, well, kind of. Let me break it down for you. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, so Napoleon, plot summary. Apparently, it's a story that details the checkered rise and fall of French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte and his relentless journey to power through his addictive, volatile relationship with his wife, Josephine. Yeah, so, also, if you're not familiar with Ridley Scott, Gladiator, Aliens might have been James Cameron. But Alien was Ridley Scott. I'm trying to think. Oh, Blade Runner 2049. incredible director, has produced some real bangers, honestly some real stinkers. And this one seems to have divided a lot of people. But yeah, to as you know, Pat, as you're kind of getting into it, the sex scenes I think were supposed to be depicting a man, Napoleon, who has done war, has gone and seen men died, been repulsed by violence, been maybe traumatized a little bit. But he's probably never had anyone really tell him how to be a good lover. He's probably never had the confidence to ask for someone to teach him how to be a good lover. And the sex scenes that he has with Josephine, I think really reflect a man who doesn't know how to have sex and like satisfy a woman. And it seems like that could almost characterize the whole film to me in regards to the depiction of Napoleon. Like this does not in any way, I think, try to depict Napoleon as the great tactical genius and conqueror that he was. It really tries to, I think, go out and show him as like a stunted kind of, honestly reminds me of Hall Pass Kid. Just reminds me of the same, of like the kid who was on hall pass duty in school, wore the sash and walked around asking to see other kids' hall passes. And it just, I don't know, man. It was not, I think I would not ever want to be portrayed this way. You know what I mean?
That's where, yeah, after we watched this movie, it's funny because like my dad was like, he's like, Napoleon would kill Joaquin Phoenix for the way he portrayed him in this movie. Like you know, as far as like the because it is like if we're getting into like the sex scene right out the gate where it's like, first of all, I like to call him in this movie Napoleon Bones a lot.
Oh, nice.
Because there's just a lot of, it's just,
I think we only see him bone twice, right?
I think it's only like 2 sex scenes, but then it's like a lot of like,
it's a lot of foreplay,
a lot of like they're about to have sex because a lot of the plot line around him and Josephine's story is them trying to have a kid.
Yep.
Right. Which involves the banging, and so he, I think the funniest. I don't think I don't know if they were trying to be funny or not, but the funniest thing that he said was after the first time they get done, he goes, "May the good work here produce a son."
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like. I think I was supposed to laugh at that. Or I thought they were trying to be funny, but then I just like...
I thought it was hilarious.
The problem is, that's why I think this movie is such a big miss, where it was like, I don't even think they were trying to be funny. I think they were just...
I don't think they knew what the fuck they were doing.
This is Joaquin Phoenix playing Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon.
Yeah, that's a good characterization. Like, I've seen Joaquin Phoenix do a lot of really diverse roles, and this feels like the gosh, what was the movie he just...
Joker?
Beau is Afraid.
Beau's Afraid.
So Beau's Afraid just came out from A24, this wacky movie with like where he's just seeing things, and he's got a lot of built up trauma from his family and stuff, and he's on this journey across in an America that's kind of post-apocalyptic, or not post-apocalyptic, apocalyptic. Like it's in the midst of it. And it's just like one of the best performances I think I've ever seen him do, because it's really entertaining to watch him. The movie itself is weird and definitely hit or miss with a lot. But then, to that point too, like Joker was not funny. That was serious. And that was also like philosophically serious, because you're like, this is definitely a deranged, evil individual that it's not hard to
identify pieces with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not even identify pieces with as much as like just to empathize, or and at least just genuinely want good fortune to come upon, which is weird. And in this, it's like, to me, it's like it looks more like Beau is Afraid was asked to play Napoleon, and like that it was so weird to me, and I think tonally it couldn't pick a tone, because there were times where I was like, oh, this is war movie, and I was like, oh, it's about to turn, it's about to happen, it's about to shift. Nope, because it never,
and we'll kind of be bouncing all around here on our review because it is hard to review this movie in some ways because there was no good plot line to follow. There was no story arc to really follow.
Doesn't even follow like the description. Like I don't think he's that obsessive over Josephine. Are you kidding me, bro? If I had a woman with all of her teeth and not STDs during the Napoleonic era, and I was away at war, I would constantly be just writing her and wanting to get back home and wanting her to write and tell me, yes, you are the love of my life. I beg to have you back, in our bed again. That doesn't even change, dude. That's like what all guys who go to war today still want. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm like, this doesn't even seem obsessive. Like, especially too, because he gets to I don't know. They don't really depict him seeking out royalty, I think. But it's very much like suggested to him and like emphasized like you should do this whether you want to or not.
Right.
And the whole idea of an heir wasn't even a big deal until they made him king.
Right.
And like so with that, like I don't even think that part of was obsessive. Like and so I'm just like, I don't think this movie is what it was described as. Like definitely a guy with probably like some mommy issues. And I think that is definitely alluded to. But he loves his wife, and he loves his wife because he's batting out of his league.
Yeah. And I feel like too the big miss here was never endearing us to their relationship with one another. We didn't care when they ended up breaking up because here's the deal. They were in an abusive, gross, weird relationship. Yeah. We never saw them love each other. No. Even in the sex scenes, those were F scenes. Those weren't sex scenes.
I think they weren't love scenes. I think they depicted him as loving her.
I think they
like there was misaligned values, but I definitely think like it was depicted like, especially spoilers when she dies. Not spoilers. You've had 300 years to learn about this. But like when she dies. That to me is not someone who's upset because he doesn't get to have his way. That to me is a man who's lost a lover. You know what I mean? I don't think she would have cried over him though. Right. I think she was depicted as, whether it's accurate or not,
gold digger, power seeker. Yeah.
Please, I need your money and the security gives me in life. I don't think she's depicted as loving him very much.
Right. That's right. I think they didn't endear us to her or their relationship because it was just a abusive relationship, kind of in a couple different ways. And the reason why we're opening talking about sex scenes and love and relationship around a guy who waged great war upon the earth is because this movie hardly focused on warfare.
And when it did, I felt like it was more often than not trying to show like he didn't do that much. There was like other people who did more.
Right.
There was other people who were giving him these ideas or helping him decide what the right choice was, which is like any real war, right? Like real war is you surround yourself with confidants who advise, and 90% of the ideas are bad, but through that, it's a filter to hopefully the best strategy. And you all grow and learn and adapt to the battlefield, right? And I'm in the middle of this Civil War book on Stonewall Jackson called Rebel Yell. Everyone should listen to it. But listening to that, I'm like, this is what this movie should have been, because it's a biography on Stonewall Jackson, but it spends so much time with other generals and confidants and like who he was, originally reporting to, and then how he grows up and others report to him, and the duality of like he went to school at West Point with a lot of the generals and majors and colonels on the Union side, and he knew him, and he was in class and were friends with some of them, right? And I was like, that would have been sick to know more about that and Napoleon's difficulties and friendships that he made more and less of like this kind of like, haha, this guy really isn't all that.
Yeah, because I felt like they did the battle scenes, while like cinematically they were awesome. There was I feel like I was getting spoon-fed some classic modern day Hollywood stuff in that all that I was supposed to feel during this battle scene was colonialism is the devil, and you have to watch young men die during this battle scene. Like there was no sense of even like a, not necessarily good versus evil, but like good versus bad, or like or just like, you know, a side to root for, and then in battle, regardless of the big powers at play, the individual dudes at play are valiant on both sides. And that's why we love to watch these big war scenes, because there is a chance for men in the ultimate arena to prove themselves. And so during these epic multi-million-dollar battle scenes, it was like I felt like there was no emotion to be evoked except for I'm supposed to feel kind of just bad and weird about what just happened, which that's not why I go to see a movie.
Well, that's not why I go to see this movie, especially.
Right. Because if even with Napoleon, yes, some guy who makes himself emperor, he's a dictator. He sent many men to die on the battlefield. He, in other ways, he also the rules he installed took away a lot of women's rights that they had gained. All these different things you could say about him. He was a brilliant tactician and warfighter, and focus on that a little more. Give credit where credit's due, without using the backwards lens.
Well, here's the thing. There's not a name before Napoleon that we compare to after Napoleon.
Right.
Right? Like we still don't compare great generals of today. Like Stonewall Jackson, Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee, they're compared to Napoleon. Big World War II guy, not Dwight D. Eisenhower, but the Patton. It was known as America's Napoleon, the Napoleon of Europe, right? Which is weird that they said, the Napoleon of the Europe theater.
Right.
And so with that, I think there's plenty of room in these movies, for comedy, for brevity, for showing the real person. And that's part of the reason why I love this biography too on Stonewall Jackson, is because it does point out his flaws and the areas he falls short and is awkward in. And that, I think there's room for that in these movies. So much of this movie though was boring. And it was filled with boring things that I don't think anyone really cared about. And here's the biggest crime, is that real Napoleon historic diehard fans also aren't going to get what they want, because they're going to watch this movie and see how much of it is fake, how much of it is made up by Ridley Scott and his writers and did not happen the way it's depicted.
Right.
And so it's why would you spend so much time on these things that are not entertaining, these boring imaginations of what Napoleon was doing and what him and his wife were doing and what they were scheming to, when that's not even real? Who's going to watch that and care? And so I'm going to be honest, the movie's not good. The movie's bad in my opinion. There's moments in it that are funny. There's moments of it that are entertaining, action-packed. But its biggest crime is not being historically inaccurate or in making up facts about Napoleon. It's that it did that and it decided to be boring still.
Yeah,
it didn't do anything cool.
It was more boring than the real life story.
Yeah.
And so they...
it's how do you do that?
Yeah, and especially when it's to take on Napoleon's story, it's chock full of all sorts of cool backdrops, stories, battles, conquering, in which you can then hyperbolize the story. But they didn't do that at all. They just, and the other thing where I think they probably initially also start to, or foundationally where they went wrong, was maybe biting off such a huge chunk of time, because
his whole life.
Yeah, because in order to pack everything you need to know for what's going on over this 40-year period it covers, they just keep having to make these big jumps. And you especially have to make big jumps if every other scene is a 5 to 10 minute scene of him and his wife having a weird conversation.
Oh my gosh, dude!
You know?
Sometimes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was 30 minutes of just them going from one room to the next room to the next scene and interacting with people, and I was just like, oh, like I get it. I get it. Let's move on.
Yeah. Or I take it on as like a 4 hour, you know, like if you're really going to do like an epic of like the story of this guy. Right. And so
that's what a lot of people said. It should have just been a mini series, but I have some trivia points on that, of why it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, Pat, what do you think about it? I'm ready to give it a rating because I feel like I know kind of where you stand and I know where I stand. And while there's great things that I saw on the screen in those fight scenes, I'll say the set pieces were there was a lot of CGI for some of the like fight scenes and stuff that was made up. And, you know, of course, Moscow and France in this time period don't exist today, right? So all of that is CGI. But, you know, the actual interior set designs, I was like really blown away, and I was like, wow, their chateau is beautiful. That's exactly what I imagine a pre-electricity chateau looked like. And I would have loved to live there as my little cave.
Right.
But that is all backdrop to just not fun, engaging dialogue that's made up. And it's just like, I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm not a Napoleon stan. I have never read anything about him. I found this point of history rather boring. I'll be honest. Post sword, pre repeater carbine, I don't pay that much attention to. I get pretty bored of. So Civil War, I'm starting to get more interested to because of this book and care more about. But like this period, I'm like, boring war, snooze war, like not exciting. And like, I know that's like stupid. I know that's stupid. I know there's so much fascinating stuff to enjoy in this history, right? But like, as someone who's not a Napoleon stan, this movie sucked. Like, it didn't suck because they did Napoleon dirty. It sucked because by doing him dirty, they couldn't come up with something more entertaining. Gladiator.
Yeah.
How real is Gladiator?
Not real at all.
Incredibly entertaining. Yeah. You know, historically relevant.
Right.
You know,
historical fiction. It's great. Yeah. And so I think that, I'm going 2 thumbs down, dude. Dude, because here's the deal. Like, I mean, dude,
have we had any movie that either of us gave 2 thumbs down?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not even some of the bad horror movies. Here's the deal. A bad $300,000, I guess this day, like $2 million horror movie budget. Like, I give them a little more leeway in the grading, maybe, but like, come on, you've got a bit of a like
more money than God.
Yeah, you've got a rock star season type cast, and then also like a rock star director taking on a guy in history who everybody knows his name. There's nobody on this planet Earth. That's an exaggeration, but really anybody who's had any form of basic education or not has just heard the name Napoleon. It's a name of a dessert. It's a name of, you know, he is such a huge, larger than life figure. We have the Napoleon complex. We have the, you know, in psychology, we have guys to this day who still, if you're learning warfare, you're going to like study the way he fought war.
Dude, and above all else, we have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is easily the best depiction of Napoleon I've ever seen, right?
No doubt.
I'd watch that movie 3 times rather than watch this movie one more time.
Yep. Yeah. I will never watch this movie again. I will tell people to just not waste their time with it. And I think that I'm going 2 thumbs down, big miss. If you like it, I don't know why you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, besides the fact that the cinematic quality, great. From camera work. Yeah. Other than that, no go.
Yeah, I'll also be honest. I didn't feel like a lot of the actors and actresses gave it their all here. Like a lot of people were talking about like the excitement they had because Ridley Scott was talking just about Joaquin Phoenix's powerful performance as Napoleon and Vanessa Kirby's astonishing portrayal of Josephine. And I was like, it was both, you know, wasn't corny, but it wasn't like, I'm not writing home about that portrayal.
Right. And beyond that, we haven't talked about any other characters because they didn't develop any other characters that were worthy of talking about. And there's a ton. Yeah,
there are a ton.
Like 50.
Yeah, and it was boring. Also with that, this is a classic example of like, to me, you're given an assignment, and then rather than doing the assignment, you do your own thing because you think you could do something pretty creative here and knock the socks off and have more fun doing the homework. And rather than like me as the teacher being like, wow, you know what, you didn't do the assignment, but what I just read was amazing, and I'm going to reward you for how awesome that was because that showed real, you know, literary talent, right? No, it's just like, you didn't do the assignment, and what you did instead sucks, and I'm punishing you.
Yeah.
I'm punishing you because someone should tell you now that you're not good at this. Next time, just stick to this assignment. And so, like, I'm also doing 2 thumbs down purely because of that. Of like, I get this maybe knee jerk, but I'm just like, dude, Ridley Scott, come on, dog. Like, you could have made something more engaging with, you know, your eyes closed. I don't know. But anyways, to that note, I got some trivia here that and some goofs, and the goofs are mostly actuallys, you know, actually Ridley Scott. But the reason I want to go over those is because just how many things the movie got factually incorrect, and rather than do something cool with it, just decided to be wrong instead. First bit of trivia though, Ridley Scott had the script that Stanley Kubrick had written for Napoleon. Kubrick was a huge obsession for Napoleon. He wanted to do it right after doing 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he watched a lot of films, Napoleon, 1927, War and Peace, 1965, that he just felt like didn't measure up to like the full story. And he had looked around at, you know, actors and actresses specifically, like having in mind who he was writing it for. But after Waterloo, which is widely regarded as being the best Napoleon movie, just because of how many extras and horses and cannons they had on set, and it was before CGI. It's 1970, and it's just like, you know, you watch it and you're like, damn, this whole movie is just the one battle, and it's awesome. And you can really understand what's going on. But after that kind of panned, it got put on the sidelines. But Ridley Scott read it, thought it was underwhelming, thought it was lame, thought it was boring, thought Kubrick's like, oh, what a boring, historically accurate movie that Kubrick would have made. And then Steven Spielberg, though, has found it, and who, you know, he was a good friend with Kubrick even into his late years when he passed away. And now Spielberg, since 2013, has been working with HBO to develop into a miniseries. And as of this year, Spielberg says it's still in development. It's still, you know, wheels are spinning on it. So we might get like a really
rebuttal.
A really accurate. And I mean, you know, dude, imagine Band of Brothers,
right?
Level of a series, but for Napoleonic War, and we don't just follow Napoleon, but we follow, you know, men through all the ranks, right? That served under. And I think it'd be cool if Napoleon was just like bigger than God in that movie, you know, and like we didn't actually spend that much time with Napoleon. We just spent more time through the eyes of like all those around him. Like, I would love to understand the mindset of those guys who were like aiming their muskets at him and said, you know what? No, for the emperor, dude. Right. Like, that's some like stormtrooper shit.
Because here's one point too that I was thinking of that I didn't bring up was one thing, you know, that is crazy interesting about Napoleon, and they did show it in the movie, was that the fact that he, after his first exile, he escapes and then comes back and raises an army large enough to fight again. That shows some incredible power and charisma to be able to be exiled, come back and raise an army of guys who are going to fight with you. And they definitely Hollywooded it up the way that happened in the movie, but that doesn't change the fact that is what happened, that he came back and did raise an army again. And so, yeah, there were guys out there who did want to fight for him, who did believe in him. And I think that that's also one of the big misses in this movie, is where not a single person died on the battlefield who you knew their name or give a crap that they just died.
Mm-hmm.
And that was why the battle scenes weren't worth anything. You didn't know the single name of anybody who died out there.
Also, the battle scenes were just like
music montage.
They were mid, bro. Like I've seen better battle scenes in like some History Channel stuff.
Right.
I'll say Vikings, the History Channel series Vikings had better battle scenes, but
definitely, because this was all like
it just felt
30,000 foot view battle scenes in this.
Well, and even with that, it felt like whoever was doing it didn't know how battle was fought all the time. Like part of me, the thing that blew, I was like, why are they bleeding when they go through the ice? Like cannon shells were landing on this frozen lake, and then like everyone who falls in the water is bleeding regardless of if they got hit by the cannonball.
And they're bleeding all their blood.
He's like, all their blood is flowing out into this frozen lake, all the blood of the horse. And I'm just
this isn't Tarantino.
I was like,
we'd accept that.
Cannonballs, I don't think cannonballs are hollow for the most part. Hence why they're known as 32-pound balls. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, this isn't shrapnel just slicing these guys up. It's like the water is full of knives as soon as they land in it. But anyways, with that too, Scott says that a 4-hour director's cut is coming to Apple TV. Oh. Wow, what a bummer for Apple. That's not going to get much views. Just kidding. I bet a lot of people will watch it because they've chosen to snooze on it in theater. Because they know the 4-hour cut's coming, and they'll watch it like a miniseries. Like they'll watch it for an hour and a half, turn it off, come back to it later. Which I don't know, bro. I will let someone correct me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll let someone be like, "Hey man, you should watch it. It's pretty good."
Yeah, like if the editor just totally boofed on this and just cut out all the good stuff.
Well, that's part of me that's wondering, like, Ridley Scott's got more money, and this is made by his studio and Apple Studios. Like it's called Scott Free Productions in the beginning. So it's kind of like, who's telling him he can't make the movie he wants? Right. I definitely do think though the Justice League movie, the Snyder cut, is like, it's a fine movie. Is it amazing 10 out of 10? No. But like, is it night and day difference to the dog shit that the original one was that came out? Right. Oh yeah, it's absolutely night and day. So I'll let people tell me if that ends up being any good. It should, it should come out the same way that Lonesome Dove did. Again, miniseries it, dude. Yeah, an hour a piece. Last little bit of trivia. While it's never directly addressed, there is in the background, I don't even think he gets lines in the movie, but there is a black French general. And he's played by Abubakar Salim, and this is credited as General Dumas. General Dumas was a real general, Thomas Alexandre Dumas, a Haitian-born general who commanded troops in the Napoleonic Wars and was actually so brilliant as a tactician, he was known as the Black Devil. Wow. And he was also father of the writer Alexander Dumas, who went on, if I remember correctly, wrote a lot of the great plays. Dude, also, I'm just saying, bro, it's never an insult to call someone the devil when you're waging war. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that black devil. And it's like, thank you. Right. I am kicking your ass.
Yeah, you will fear me.
Yeah.
No, and that's where, it's like, we would have loved to known about that.
I would have loved to know. Just like we should have been about that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And just let Napoleon be that larger than life dude. Maybe he trips going up the stairs and it's like he's still human. But otherwise, give us more character, more something.
$2 million budget.
What? $2 million budget for the whole movie?
$200 million budget.
Okay, there we go.
This article says it's grossing $7.1 million by the end of the second week in theaters.
Oof.
Not good. The Greater Napoleon, as in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, hell yeah.
$400,000 budget. after its release, grossed 44 mil.
Yeah.
So as far as percentages go on ROI, good work, Napoleon Dynamite.
Seriously.
Of course, who knew that was going to go? But still, this one, it looks like now it's grossed up to 46 million. Now it's been out another week or two, but I mean, they're not making money back on this.
That's
one.
a loss. That's a big L.
Yeah.
It's like, it is not going to be any Gladiator where it makes its budget back 3 times over.
No.
Anyway, some goofs here. Like I said, all these goofs are actually, after being defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon surrendered to the British on board HMS Bellerophon. And even though he met people and had people come meet him, he's never met the Duke of Wellington face-to-face in real life. Also, I'm going to say beef Wellington is a better meal than what's the Napoleon one? Just the Napoleon. I can't remember the whole dish, but beef Wellington is hella delicious.
Really?
You never had beef Wellington? Oh my gosh, it's like the best damn pastry meat thing.
Well, the Napoleon is I think it's a dessert.
Oh, is it?
So, but
you're not thinking of what's the ice cream where it's
not Neapolitan.
Neapolitan. No, you're not thinking of that, are you?
No,
Okay.
Not Neapolitan. But there's another Napoleon dish attributed to him that is, it's like something weird, not great. Something you would eat on a battlefield, like beans and lettuce in a stew or something. It's like, can't remember what it is, but
during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, the top of pyramids are seen to have been targeted by cannon fire, but actually there is no proof that Napoleon's army targeted the pyramids. Napoleon himself was a great admirer of ancient Egypt, actually, and its battalions of troops and its organization at the time, and the sites of the civilization. And he would have unlikely ordered its targeting of the pyramids. However, it's been theorized but likely debunked that he fired at the Sphinx.
Well, who knows? No iPhones.
I think we know that he didn't shoot the pyramids. I think we know that definitively. I don't think he was anywhere near the pyramids during his fight. Like the pyramids were still 30 miles away.
A little way off there.
Yeah.
But if I was as big a deal as he was, I could have a lot of reverence for those pyramids, and I could still be like, "You boys, try to hit the top of that thing."
Here's the thing. I don't think you would have even cared because during the time Napoleon was active, the pyramids were halfway under sand. I don't think people understand that Egypt just left them. Egypt was like, yeah, we don't reuse those anymore. And so the whole thing of him getting a mummy out of the pyramids is just all bullcock, dude.
Yeah.
It's just,
and that scene was just for him to
look like he has mommy issues. He wants to kiss his mummy.
I think it was him trying to. I think what he was in that scene, what they were trying to show, because I think that was actually one halfway decent scene of the movie, was they were trying to show his. I feel like what was going through his mind was, I will be great, and he was trying to ascertain what is greatness, because this thing in this tomb
has this monument,
has greatness, and a monument built to it, and I want to be like him. But then the way they make him step up on a stool to look in it is this thing where you'll never be that great. But,
I do think it was a mirroring scene for sure. It's a shame that it didn't have more. I would have loved a nightmare. I would have loved for him to have a nightmare of being embalmed and forgotten underground. I don't know. Right. I'm sure a man of that greatness and power fears he'll become like many other men of history, right? Also, the scene showing 4 men rolling a 6-foot cannon barrel as if they were moving a picnic basket. That barrel would have weighed 800 pounds, and even decades after Napoleon, when technology had advanced to the point of the American Civil War, we still had horse teams pulling cannons. We didn't just wheel cannons around. So, again, I think it would have been sick to show horse teams sledding cannons. That would have been dope.
That's true.
Napoleon is shown charging with the troops. Never happened. Napoleon was renowned for refusing to run in. Also, he had reported being pretty ill and sick and couldn't really ride the horse that day. Also, he was known as being a really bad horse rider.
Really?
Yeah, he was known for like being terrible at riding horse.
There is a scene where they help him get on his horse, which I couldn't tell. I feel like that might have been a little bit
like he was too little,
or like there's like, I mean, like who can't get on their horse is a respectable man, right?
Yeah.
Like now there is also like royalty is helped upon these things too. Like, so I couldn't tell if it was like he has royalty, so they help him up, or if it was like, all right, bring out the stool, that sort of thing. But they might have shown, there was one scene where they showed that, but I didn't know that he was a bad horseman, huh?
Yeah. Also, Battle of Austerlitz happened on December 2nd, 1805. It's the one in the movie with the frozen lake.
Mm-hmm.
It happened on dry land. There was no bodies of water nearby. It's the whole lake thing is fiction. The idea that he was cut them off and sink them firing cannonballs in the ice, it's baloney. Which is like, part of me is like, okay, at least they, rather than telling the truth, decided to lie and make it entertaining. But then I was like, you know what? I bet the truth is just more entertaining. Because it's like, what if I couldn't sink these guys in a lake real quick to end the fight scene right here? What if it's just absolute flipping chaos in a blizzard
for 3 months?
Like,
stalemated.
Yeah. I was just like, it should have been, the more entertaining thing is probably following the fear and terror of fighting in Russia in the winter. Also the casualties from Austerlitz resulted from traditional land-based combat. So imagine like just like snow, just scarlet red with hundreds of thousands of bodies. You know what I mean? There is no historical evidence to suggest Napoleon ever slapped Josephine during the divorce. It's never noted by anyone who was witness to it. This is just, drama for the sake of making him look like performance abuser. I must smack you out of it because everyone's looking at me to lead, and I have to lead you through this divorce. However they wanted to, picture it. But it was a political decision, and they definitely maintained amicable and continue to write to each other. That's all very true. But there is no credible source supporting the claim that Napoleon ever physically abused her during the divorce proceedings, and it's often conjectured if he ever physically abused her. Like, there's not much record of like people like, he would hit her or anything like that. It is known that they yelled at each other all the fucking time, though. Like they just, screamed at each other. But anyways, all that said, those are my goofs and trivia for the movie. Go out and watch Waterloo at your buddy's house to see a sick actual portrayal with real people. Waterloo's like essentially Braveheart, but just French guys with guns. And because it's all real actors, it's just before they could CGI people in. There's stuff like, there's rumors that with Waterloo they had done stuff where they had like dummies like dummies on sacks riding horses and so, like attached to horses, because they're like, we just don't have enough people.
Well, good for them if it did it and it was believable. That's
I don't think there's a single scene in the movie where you're like, oh, that's a scarecrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what I got. This is already more time than I wanted to give this fucking movie, but I don't know, Pat. Anything else you want to add before we close it here?
No, man, that's it. It's a four thumb down.
Well, you heard it here first.
Did we rate the beer?
Yeah, we each gave it a thumb up.
Yep. Okay, good. I was wondering if we
Paix Dieu by what's the brewery?
By the I can't say it without trying to read it.
I say it with a Creole accent.
Yeah.
Paix Dieu.
Yeah, Paix Dieu by what is this? It was the Necklace Brewery of Brasserie Collier. Yeah.
2 thumbs up. Give it a try. It's pretty good. But anyways, thanks for joining us, Ken. If you made it to the end of the show here, I just want to plug that we have a YouTube channel now. We are working on doing long form video entertainment. As of right now, it's just another way of getting the podcasts out. YouTube just pulls it on over from our podcast hosting service. So if you prefer to watch things and download them from YouTube Music or watch them on YouTube while you work, we are there. We have already, after only a few days, like 3,500 subscribers, most of which big Indian base audience. So shout out to my brothers in India. Also, like 30% of our demographic are women in India. So shout out to my sisters in India. They really seem to like our Blood Meridian book review. That's like the most watched video in India right now across our videos. So
nice.
Anyways, maybe we should do like a Bollywood movie and get an Indian beer and just watch like the most highest, maybe not highest rated, but most like
beloved,
popular, Bollywood movie, and we'll drink some Indian beer. That way, give it to our devoted fans. But anyways, thanks for joining us, folk. We appreciate you. We hope you're having happy holidays, and we hope to save you some money. But till next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.